Welcome to What's in a Game. On today's show, the Jokic-less Nuggets are on their most impressive streak of the season, building on their winning record without the three-time MVP. We'll discuss the players not just stepping up in their roles, but growing their games in the process. Then, we discuss Peyton Watson's breakout as a rising star and ask whether Denver can afford to keep him or not to keep him. Stay tuned. Welcome back to What's in a Game. I'm Grace Jean here with my co-host Will Jones. How are you doing today, Will?
I kind of feel a little bit like Jacqueline Hyde a bit with where I stand on this Nuggets team because
you feel like Jekyll and Hyde?
Because Pwat being this good and kind of taking a leap signals to me championship, but it also has me stressed out asking some questions about what it means for the Nuggets especially this summer. And so I'm like going back and forth, trying to just enjoy the ride, but there's implications.
I think we're going to get to it when we get to our segment where we discuss Peyton Watson and his future with the team and everything. But I think it's really important for everyone to understand that the Denver Nuggets are going to be a worse basketball team next year, almost no matter what. Keep Peyton, don't keep Peyton, because Jonas is going to be gone. Tim is likely going to be gone. Other guys are, Jokic gets older, Jamal gets older, Aaron gets older. But generally speaking, the depth is just probably never going to be this good. They're not going to have Jonas next year in all. I don't see a situation now where Jonas is on the Denver Nuggets next season. And so I think the idea of worrying about the medium-term future of the team can't overshadow the opportunity that they have to do something with the current roster, right? Because, if I could have said the same thing to you after or during the championship season, if I'd been following the team at that point, right? It's this team is going to be worse next season. Although nobody thought that at the time. No, it's gonna be the same guys. They lost a lot of guys actually, after the title, but they have a chance to do something really special with that roster, and that's exactly what happened, right? So I think it's important to keep that perspective. And I wasn't even thinking about that until you brought it up just now.
Brought up the future of the Nuggets.
Brought up the idea of sort of trying to balance the expectation and the excitement for what this current group can do with worry for the future. Mostly because for me, when I say expectation, I'm so busy worried about the current season. It's hard for me to worry about what they're going to be next season when I'm hey, title's still not assured here. It's it's still a tough, not a tough league, because I think the league has really let me down overall this season in aggregate, but it's not an easy path to a title, right? And so that's where I'm at, is I'm worried about that more than basically anything else. But I understand people kind of having their medium and longer term, concerns about the future of the team.
Well, the future of Pwat and the Nuggets gets a lot easier to swallow no matter what it is if we win a championship this season, obviously. And with Jokic on the men, there was that report.
Ownership too, although,
Yeah. I mean, we're not going to talk about this specifically as a news item, but, Jokic is ramping up. There was that Shams report that he's starting on court activities and looking to return in a couple weeks, maybe something along those lines. So with how the Nuggets have been surviving without him, how Pwat's looking, I mean, we had said in other episodes that, and maybe even in other seasons, that one of the best indicators of how the Nuggets would fare contending for a title would be one, Jamal being healthy and playing well, but also Pwat taking a leap, because he was always just one of those guys that we were kind of betting on a higher ceiling and he would reach it. And if it is true that he's reached it and can sustain it, even when Jokic comes back,
not the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
That's what I talked about with Peyton more than anything, right? And that's, We'll
Yeah.
talk about whether that's whether and by how much that's actually
Hmm.
improved the floor in particular. But obviously we've seen flashes of like, okay, like the ceiling on this kid is, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah. And there's still time to go. There's more games to play without Jokic, but right now the Nuggets seeding is great. Jokic is going to be coming back, so I'm like still feeling great about this season's chances. And so I'm excited about that, but then I'm like asking these questions about Peyton. We'll get there
Yeah.
obviously.
And, just to bring it back to the macro point before we jump into the details here, we went into this stretch without Jokic. I think like 2 or 3 pods ago was when we got 3 pods, I think is when we got the Jokic injury. And then we started kind of diving into like, what does this team look like without Nikola Jokic this season? The week after that is I really want this team to just kind of not completely unravel. Because cluster injuries are something that happens, especially when you miss this many guys, then you put more on other guys and that kind of thing. And one of the um, players I want to shout out before we even get to like any specifics here is like Jalen Pickett being just like a steady, even if he doesn't have like a repeat of that insane game against the Sixers, right? Just being like a steady contributor to overall team shot creation. Peyton Watson being a steady contributor to overall team shot creation, taking some of that burden off Jamal Murray has really made me feel a lot better about how the rest of this month is going to go, because that was a big concern of mine going into this stretch without Jokic. Was like, I really don't want to overtax Jamal. And if anything happens to him, knock on wood, I don't know if this is like fake wood linoleum in this hotel room or whatever, but knock on whatever might be real here. Then the season is cooked. So like really gotta this month is about triage and like taking care of guys and like trying to just like again not unravel before Jokic comes back. And I want to shout out those guys kind of generally for that particular contribution, because I think it's magnified in that it's not just helping us win games, but also like preserving our ability to really contend this season because of how important Jamal is for this team. All right, before we jump into things, please do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Really helps us out with the algorithm as we try to grow the channel. No news items today, so let's just jump right into how the Denver Nuggets have been, continuing to build on their basically a road stretch where they kind of went 500, one game above 500 maybe on that road trip without Jokic. Came back home and then had some more road games, and now they're a couple games above 500 without Nikola Jokic. And it all started when they came home to face the Atlanta Hawks and lost 110-87. And well, I completely attributed this game to like I think Jamal didn't play. Everybody was sick, and I mean like sick. I mean like
Hmm.
I think Zeke was supposed to come to the podium to talk after the game, and then he was too sick too, so they sent Pickett out, and there were reports from the writers that like Pickett was like looked too sick to be out there also, and we knew there was something going around the locker room. And that's not to say that if the team hadn't been sick that the Hawks wouldn't have won. The Hawks, with all those guys missing, because at that point it was Jamal out, AG out, Christian out, Cam out, like the entire starting lineup, and Jonas out. The Hawks maybe would have gotten the same result, but I felt that there was very little informational value from that game outside of
Yeah.
like they like just shit out of luck. And honestly, I didn't expect the next game to go that much better because it was only 2 days later against the Milwaukee Bucks. But was there anything that you wanted to say about the Hawks?
No, it was just a flu game. The whole locker room was really sick, according
Yeah.
to those close to the Nuggets, and everyone looked like that was the case. Vyacheslav brings up Hawks had the best defense from all the teams we've played recently. Yeah, we've been playing some teams from the East that were just dominating, and I'm glad that we can put this Hawks loss behind us because we were able to like pick up momentum. It's not like that was a shift when we lost to the Hawks that we were going to start seeing like loss after loss or anything. Like we've come right back into
Right.
it and
Which
responded.
was,
So
I was kind of like, oh, okay, the party's over a little bit after that game. I was like, well, everyone's sick, but also like they had been playing a little over their heads. That game came right after, I think the Celtics game was the last one of the road trip. And like, even the most optimistic about what the prospects of this team could be without Jokic didn't think that they were going to take that Celtics game, and then they did, right? Um, so I was kind of like, maybe more of these games will look like this, and also this team just doesn't play as well at home as we think they should. Um, so maybe that's just going to continue through the season, but that so far has not, been the experience. I'll be curious to see how they play in like more home games actually, because that's just like an interesting, trend to monitor this season. Because last year it was like, well, they're not winning as many home games, and we thought it was just because the vibes were bad. But the vibes seem fine this year, and they're still not winning as many home games as you'd like, right? All right, but moving on then, let's go to the Bucks because there's some really interesting stuff from this game. The Nuggets took the Bucks game 108-104, and this was an excellent Zeke Naji game, I thought. And my overall takeaway from it, in addition to guys like Zeke Naji and Jalen Pickett stepping up, and I believe Jamal didn't play in this game either, but AG did, right? Trying to remember if Christian played in the Bucks game. I don't think he did, right?
no, or maybe he did. He was
He played
playing
in the
in.
Hawks game.
Yeah, and I think he had like 0-0-0-0 in the box score
It was
of that
bad.
game. And then I was saying, like, why is he still playing? He clearly cannot keep up and
And
still
then they
injured.
decided, we agree with you, William,
Yeah.
and he hasn't played since, which we will
Which I
get
think
to.
is good, yeah. At least for his health.
So Jamal didn't play in the Bucks game, and I thought Jalen Pickett did a great job stepping up in that lead initiator role, to kind of take some pressure off of AG, because AG was really the lead initiator, but he wasn't literally bringing the ball up like every single time. But he was like creating a lot of shots. Pickett was awesome in that game, but my overall takeaway, and I don't want to like diminish what like Pickett and Zeke did in that game, but the Bucks are terrible. Like they are really, really bad, especially with Giannis off the floor. I think Giannis was a plus 17 in his minutes in that game, and Zeke Naji just completely destroyed their bench in the minutes that he was on the floor when Giannis was not there. And then when Giannis was there, he contributed to probably was like the most impactful like singular defender on Giannis, and AG like right there next. But I think Zeke's size like really helped with that matchup. But like the Bucks were terrible. Like, were you surprised at how easily our bench was just completely smacking them? Because it's not like it wasn't a super high scoring game. Like I said, 108-104. It was like the Bucks like couldn't do anything. Um, it was like Kuzma and KPJ, and it was like, oh, they're like our sixth and seventh players out there. It felt like.
Yeah, I thought Giannis would have an open runway to the hoop like all night, and it would be a much tougher game. But I mean, AG did a great job trying to get in front of Giannis. Like always, that's like the objective for any team, is just have some players that can do that. I mean, I'm surprised by everything this Nuggets team is doing in this stretch, including, I guess, we're beating all these East teams. I shouldn't be surprised about that because they are such a weak conference and we are still owning them. And yeah, the Bucks I thought would even still be worse this season. Just like, I mean, I've been thinking about, we're like almost halfway. I've been thinking about like our projections of a lot of these teams, which maybe we should do like a, rundown of where we are halfway. But the Bucks, I just didn't think would be that good, but they kind of started out okay. And now they're falling back a little bit and hadn't really seen much of their play. And then here we are, we're defeating them without Jokic and with, so limited with our resources and our starters and putting up a good game. Like we almost lost it, but found a way to win once again.
It was literally like, oh my gosh, Adelman, you need to get Zeke back out there. I think he finished that game like a plus 26 or something. Because like I said, he was like just dominant in the non-Giannis minutes and then really helped us kind of hold water in the minutes that he did match up with Giannis. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that the guys did in this game. So a little bit on the offense, because I really do think this was more a defensive game. But I talked about AG being like the primary like creator, or at least like scorer, I would say, in this game. His jump shot is just so important, and it's been a little bit more inconsistent over the last few games he's been back, but it's not, like, bad. Like, I still am like, "Alright, AG, take those shots." If you need to take those shots because you still don't, like, fully trust, like, your hamstrings and stuff, banging down low in the paint all the time, have at it. Um, if you could bring up the middies, I think it's just one clip here, but this was my favorite AG midi from that game. He's just bullying AJ Green here on a mismatch, and they kind of crowd his drive. And AG's like, "I'm just gonna go to my turnaround and shoot over you." Late in the clock too. It's like, all right, do what you want. We just need a shot here. Took it, made it beautiful. And then I want to bring up this dynamic with AG. Like that was an example of a bailout jump shot from AG, but this like another late clock bailout three where like Hunter Tyson is posting up and going nowhere because of course, and Giannis is completely ignoring AG to go help on it, or I don't know, not even help. He's just kind of watching this Hunter Tyson post up, and AG relocates and hits this. I mean, like his feet are not set, or like what it in like not the most natural jump shot form, and then he hits that beautiful bailout three late in the clock to give us points on a possession that started with a Hunter Tyson post.
Yeah. I mean, AG, his jump shot is something to look at when he, coming off this injury, because great shot starts with your base. And if your hamstring's not feeling good, you're not going to have that drive. That's the first like step in the chain. And I was curious where it was. He has been leaving some short and airballing some other times, but other times he's making them. So I'll take what he's giving us right now.
The 3 games, since let's see, he didn't play on the like long road trip at all, did he? The Bucks game wasn't his first game back, was it?
No.
Right.
I think he came back and then
he played because he played in the Nets game and stuff. That's right. Okay.
So him and Sabi came back, and then
end of the long East Coast road trip, the Bucks game was because he missed the Hawks game, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Of the last 3, like Bucks, Pelicans, Mavs, I think he's had 1 like bad shooting game. The other 2 were like fine or good. In terms of like the jump shot making. So that's just something to see, because the consistency is what you kind of look for with with that shot, to see if you're really going to trust it. It's crazy because it's been like a year and a half now, but AG's missed so much time. It's hard for people to really like trust it. But for the most part, it's like, yeah, he's making these shots. But nobody believes he's going to keep making them at like a 50%.
Yeah. Which is like, you want that automatic shot that he brought, but I'm not expecting it. So I'm fine with him like missing some stuff, but.
And then for the last one here, could you play the DHO3? This was just, I'm not even sure if this was the kind of play that they meant to call. Right. So, okay. Yeah. So AG tosses to Peyton there, and Peyton just like, just gives him a little handoff and gets like, Giannis is like, doesn't care about AG at all. He's not even trying to guard him. And AG is just able to easily relocate for that DHO3. And it's almost like, honestly, on rewatch, I'm wondering if that was like a strategy throughout the game, was just to attack him by playing AG like more intentionally like a wing, instead of like posting him up and doing all that stuff, having other guys kind of feed him. Because of how Giannis was or was not guarding him. But the confidence in that shot is pretty undeniable. And because even if he's not going to make every single one, just the ability to run those plays, catch the defense off guard, and take advantage of that versatility is obviously very important for our offense. Couple of clips from Jalen Pickett in this game too. Offensively, if you could bring up the 2-handed push shot. This one was off glass. I thought this was, really good because it was late in the clock, kind of bailout possession, and I'm like, Pickett, don't try to create for somebody else. We just need you to like put a shot up. I don't even care if it goes in. Just don't get a shot clock violation. Um, and then he's able to just kind of drive in and create this. And again, like, who is Giannis guarding on this possession? Because his assignment is not Pickett. I'm not blaming him for this, but I'm also kind of like wondering, like, okay, he's on AG and it's just kind of like, quote unquote, playing
He's
free
just
safety.
watching Pickett go by.
He's watching Jalen Pickett.
Which is fine. He's got Miles Turner in the paint, you would think, but
Yeah.
he doesn't even help enough on that one. So there it is.
Yeah. I just like want to draw attention to this because I think that Giannis gets too much credit for his defense at this stage in his career. And it's like, okay, Jokic isn't good, but like Giannis is like not good. Very impactful defensively at all.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go to the cutting floater next for Jalen Pickett again. I was surprised that he took this shot. They run a little split action here with AG as the hub. And they go in horns, split, Pickett cuts and gets to a little floater off the cut, turns into an and one.
Yeah,
And I was kind of surprised that Pickett took the shot. I thought he was going to, wheel it off to Zeke in the corner, but Miles was a little late on that rotation anyway. I was happy to see it.
Yep. It's also good that Pwat has been playing really well. So instead of, Pwat's usually a screener in sets like this, but, we're shorthanded. Now Pwat,
he sets a really good flare for Peyton.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say he slips. Like he sets that screen and is still able to get the open.
Yeah. Like they had to switch, which means, as always with this set and this team, the slip's going to be open and AG's a good passer and can read it. And Pickett is the beneficiary of that this time, but also Pickett's floater here. I mean, Miles Turner's coming to a contest. He maybe could have come a little bit sooner, but Pickett's floater,
it's Jalen Pickett, and you're just kind of like throw the hand up, whatever. But it was good of Peyton or Pickett to like make the shot, right? Because it's like that's a makeable shot.
It's something he's still working on, and I've seen it other times where he's almost afraid to go to it. Like the lane's open, he could go for it possibly, and either elects to pass it out to someone who's covered or is just not as good of a shot, and then we have to work to keep getting a good shot. And I get the hesitancy that he has on it, but for his size and difficulty, you would think with that size to score contested layups, the floater seems to me like something he could utilize a lot. So I want to keep seeing him get that in.
Yeah, agreed. That's why it's called a giant killer. It's because it's usually used by a smaller guy on a bigger guy, like in the paint in front of you. No clips on this guy because we're going to talk about him in some later games. But Tim Hardaway Jr. was actually the story of this game. Offensively, he was actually a team high 25 points. I think the second most points scored in the game. Got everywhere, layups, mid-range. He actually leads the NBA in mid-range field goal percentage, minimum 20 attempts. He has 49 on the season, 62.5% from the mid-range, which you maybe wouldn't think about that aspect of his game because he's been so prolific of a shooter even this season. And, he continues, like I said, to be like scorching hot from beyond the arc. Another 5 of 9 from 3 in that game. And I was just like, Tim is just, it's hard. Like I said, we don't have clips of Tim from this game because we're going to talk about him in other games, but he's been so huge for us this season. Just that like total consistency as a shooter alone. And then, in this, I want to call it a recent stretch, but at this point, it's most of the season that he's been asked to take on a bigger role, either in some games as a starter, in other games, taking like completely over being like the center of the bench offense and just like figuring out a way to get buckets on buckets and like kind of continuously doing that. And the games that are the worst for us, like the Nets game, he doesn't do anything. But there haven't been that many games, which is like a real testament to consistency from a player that you don't necessarily know for consistency, right?
Yeah, I mean, having him has been the most slam dunk signing. We've been over it tons. Another player that I'm trying to just enjoy now, and the fact that he's here on a minimum. Like, again, he's on a minimum. Pwat is on his rookie contract, hasn't got an extension. So it's almost like that Thunder formula from last year where it's like, I know Tim's a vet, but he's not an expensive player. So you got like an MVP level player with very cheap dudes around him who can contribute and make buckets. Should equate to, being close to winning a title, if not winning it. So again, glad he's here this season. I like it. Almost is more pressure to get this done, but enjoy it for now because he could be making more than Bruce got from the Indiana Pacers or something from some team.
I mean, I don't know about that. Tim is much older than Bruce was when he got that contract.
Yeah,
but I do
that's
think
true.
that he'll be, and he probably should have been this last summer as well, a candidate for at least a mini mid-level exception from a team next season. Just because it's like the shooting ability is still there. If you need a microwave sixth man, he's right there, right? All right, let's talk about the defense because we got to give props to some guys. Well, the way that I'm going to talk about the defense over the next, I guess, few weeks, in addition to the games that I talk about today, is that it's been a lot about like defensive playmaking over this stretch, blocks, deflections. The positional stuff is really hard to assess because I don't know how much we can take from it because of how different the scheme and the approach might be when Jokic gets back. But it's really great to see just like the like I said, the energy, the playmaking, and like the hustle from these guys in these situations. But Zeke, again, he's been playing a lot of five, been playing a lot of center, and doing a great job defensively, even in the games where I thought that he wasn't it was like not impactful to a negative offensively. Obviously he was great in this Bucks game. Let's go first to the KPJ lob breakup here. He's just here in drop and on guarding Kuzma, and KPJ tries to, pass to Kuz on the slip, and Zeke reads it and is like, nope, here we go. So again, like KPJ and Kuzma being our sixth and seventh players on the court out there, but this is also just a good play by Zeke. Let's go to this really impressive because I want to emphasize that Zeke was consistently very good on Giannis in terms of forcing misses, forcing tough jump shots that sometimes he made. But this was just a really impressive block by Zeke. And it was really important because it sparked a fast break and helped us sort of grow a lead before the halftime, kind of, expand the lead and got us a fast break that resulted in a Jalen Pickett, layup. That's a great way to avoid contested layups, is to get them in transition, right? So that was good to see from Pickett that he, kept going instead of kind of drawing the ball out like he sometimes does in those transition situations. But really impressive play by Zeke, in addition to the other plays or possessions that he had guarding Giannis, where it was just like great positional defense and like using his size. GP of St. John says Zeke is upgrading his trade value. I completely agree.
Hey, you just got a block on Giannis on tape. Where are these GMs at?
I need to just post that clip without any context. Oh my gosh. Will, can you make like a TikTok style Zeke hype edit from the last few weeks?
I guess I could.
All right, let's go to AG now. He had this really impressive block to close the half. And this was, I can't remember if this was defense on Giannis or not. Yeah. Okay. So he's, he either blocked this or like contested it so well that I think he had to have blocked it because I don't think Giannis airballs that. Even if he misses this layup, I don't think that it would have gone to the other side of the rim unless AG got a fingertip on it. So really impressive one-on-one defense by AG there. Peyton helps out. I think AG gets a fingertip, and then Peyton also makes sure that it doesn't even like touch the, kind of circle around the rim. This was very much a team effort. If you could go to the AJ Green miss. Now, you don't love AJ Green, great shooter, getting, an open shot. But the reason that he gets the shot is because AG stonewalls Giannis on this drive where he tries to kind of pump fake AG, and then AG like doesn't fall for it because he jumps in such a way to prevent the shot, because Giannis was actually very willing to take jump shots in this game, and he took a lot of them, which I think is also a testament to Denver's defense. But here, AG prevents the shot from even going up because of how he guards there, and then it goes to AJ Green. And you just kind of live with that. You'd want Bruce to like get a better contest on it, but you'd rather AJ Green generally trying to create a shot than Giannis, right?
Yeah.
Agreed, Vyacheslav. Giannis is really hard to guard one-on-one. His drives are so good, especially in transition. And I thought our transition defense in that game was really, really good. Really good defensive game from Denver there. Some more defensive plays from that game. Like I said, they were kind of holding on for dear life after Giannis came back in at the end of the game to close that game, and they were like, "Can we just like hold the margin that we have?" kind of thing. Because Giannis was still getting his in this game, but Tim ends up coming down with what I thought was one of the game-saving plays here. That would have been easily 2 points for Giannis dribbling in transition on a turnover by Zeke or Pickett or someone there. And he manages to save the ball or steal the ball and save it from going out of bounds. And I actually think Pickett got a little poke from the back there, but Tim's the one that saves the ball and saves like a possession away from the Bucks, right? So I thought that was pretty big.
But also, one detail on that I didn't notice till now was, Peyton and Zeke. I mean, maybe Zeke didn't contest enough, but Peyton's got a huge jump and huge reach. Yeah. So Bucks players got to throw it up. I actually thought
Peyton might have gotten a fingertip on this, but then it gets to Giannis anyway, and I was like, damn it.
But look at this. The ball goes short of Giannis, which allows THJ to, just even more time to make a plan on a ball. Okay, so that wasn't
Pickett. It was just like Tim stealing, but it was caused by that ball being thrown short because, well, it wasn't thrown short, but getting kind of deflected by Peyton there. So that was like really good team transition defense, like saving yourselves from a mistake that you made, right? With that live ball turnover. That's a good catch. And then, of course, we, be remiss to go without showing the scramble on this final possession where I'm like, guys, stop allowing threes. Just follow them. Get a Tam rebound. Also, there was like, I was like screaming at my TV, but it was really nice to see the guys scramble. Look at Tim, just everyone.
And Zeke gets a block here. That. Yeah.
And then if you could play the Peyton block clip next, which just continues from this point. I'm pretty sure. So they get the rebound, and then KPJ to, I believe that's Ryan Rollins in the corner. Block. And Peyton was not credited for a block on this shot, but I don't believe that Ryan Rollins threw this ball so short that it airballed like very, very short of the rim. He's like a not a good shooter, but like he hits the rim, So I think Peyton definitely got a finger on that ball, and they should have credited him for a block there. But again, for the love of God, please grab a rebound.
Yeah,
and they finally did.
I mean, that's just the one thing about watching this team right now is that it does require so much effort and plays like this to be in these games and to close these games out. And it's just a night and day difference from the Nuggets last season. And they just like have the energy, the locker room vibe seem good, and they all like each other. And we have multiple dudes. We have the depth finally. So just fun to see us employ all these tools and see new looks from these players. Like that play is just such a perfect example of it, scrambling around, even though, like you're like, we still have a pretty bad defensive rating. Like I think we dropped to last in the league or whatever, but here we are with these defensive plays, just like when we need them to help win these games and just get by.
We're actually, I think, up to like not last in the league. We were like last in the league for like a stretch, but not like on the season. It was more like 23rd or something.
It was like a recent graph that like the last 10 games stretch was like last in the league.
Yeah. And it felt like it too. The fact that they were winning games despite that is kind of crazy. Let's go to anything else you want to say about the Bucks game before we move on to the Pels?
No, let's do it.
All right, first night of the most recent back-to-back. Nuggets take the win against the New Orleans Pelicans, 122 to 116. Somehow they won a game where the Pelicans had 16 offensive rebounds. They only allowed 14 second chance points on those 16 offensive rebounds. So that's been something is even in these games where they get out rebounded, which is most games since Jokic went out, they have been able to, limit second chance points in terms of like putbacks. The kickouts are still like the scariest thing because you're just kind of leaving it up to chance at that point, because it's usually a wide open scramble three. But in this game against the Pelicans, like they couldn't, besides everyone besides Trey Murphy, like couldn't hit anything. So that was, helpful for us for sure. They only had 7 turnovers. The Nuggets did to the 15 for the Pelicans, so they were able to basically even out the possession battle. And I thought Jamal did an overall really good job of pushing pace offensively in this game. I thought like Pickett came out the gate like really hot in the first quarter, and I thought that he helped us get out to a really strong start. This was another good Jamal game, but he was more like really good late, and I thought it was about like other guys early. In terms of not that he wasn't like creating, but as a scorer, it was a lot more of Jamal as a distributor. But let's talk about Pickett to start this game. Let's go first to the bailout step back, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the first points of the game for Denver, or some of the first points of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so not the first points, but some of the first points late in the clock again. And Pickett, I'm like, Pickett, you're not creating anything for anybody. You need to get a shot up. And then he did, and he made it, right? He's actually really good in these late clock situations when he's decisive about actually scoring. For the most part, the possessions that really frustrate me, the late clock possessions that frustrate me, are when it ends. They usually just end up in a shot clock violation because he's trying to, create for somebody else. But it's been good to see him like realize like, yo, you're the point guard on the floor, balls in your hands, 5 seconds left. If you can't create an open shot, like you need to just kind of make something happen, throw something up. And I'll never really get upset over, a missed shot in that situation. It's just about getting something up on the rim. Let's go to the Spencer miss, because I thought this was a really good dime by Pickett in a cutting situation. And I don't know why Spencer dribbled here. He didn't need to. It was just like, no, dude, go up. You already have the momentum of running toward the basket. But that was a good play by Jalen Pickett that just didn't convert. He had this late clock turnaround fadeaway shot, another bailout situation, right? That's funny. Vyacheslav says, I trust Pickett more in shot making than creating for others. I kind of do too, especially in a late clock situation, because late clock, you need somebody really quick, like athletically quick, to be able to like create a quick enough advantage to be able to pass to somebody. And that's just not Pickett's game. But he is skilled enough to create his own shot in that situation most of the time, against like an average defender anyway. Mm-hmm. Look, he gets, is that Jordan Poole on his hip here? And gets to this fadeaway here.
He also just doing the little shove with the arm bar, which is fine. If the league's not going to call it, then you should do it. But any way to just quickly get separation, whether it's that or just a little step back, which, any quick guard is more susceptible to do. So that's definitely can help.
Just as a note on that last play, as you can see Bruce calling for the ball in the corner here, that's going to be a little bit of a theme in this game. Like a little bit of a theme anyway. So he thinks Pickett's going to hit him in the corner because I don't even know who that is that's supposed to be guarding Bruce, but he doesn't. And Pickett hits this late clock shot. I wouldn't have been mad at him kicking to Bruce there, but it was just like, whatever. Like the clock's late enough that you make a split second decision and you take the shot, whatever. We'll get to other kind of similar instances when we get to talking about Bruce here. If you go to the 3 next, This was another just like this is all first quarter stuff from Jalen Pickett, by the way, guys. Just look, he gets his feet behind the line and confidently steps not into, but out of, I guess,
In the 3 point.
that three there, and a little bit of a different shot for him. Gets to the hop and swishes it.
I feel like him, well, maybe not him as much, but like Peyton, when you watch, and him, like the confidence I have every time they take a three now is just irrationally high almost. Like I feel like Peyton, or especially on open
where
threes.
Peyton is still, because I still don't trust the wing threes, even
But
though
I'm like, I feel like he's 100% on open threes. I'm like, geez, he just like keeps hitting him. I'm like, oh, he's gonna miss one. Peyton.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I'm just confident in both of them.
And then lastly, if you go to the hitting Bruce on a slip, I thought this was a little bit of a makeup for the corner situation, perhaps. So Bruce does a good job slipping here, and Pickett gets him the ball in kind of a weird angle. I'm glad he was able to here. So I would have liked to see him do it earlier, like right here, but he waits a second and waits for Bruce to get into better position. But it's kind of hard. It's a harder pass. So Bruce is in better position, but it's a harder pass for Pickett. But he's able to complete it, and then Bruce is able to hit this this little, does he bank this in here? Yeah, this little bank shot here. And then in this game, I think AG was just a really steady force for the team. There I wasn't sure if he was one of the guys that actually stayed in Denver, because we got reports that some of the injured guys stayed back home in Denver for this 2-game little back-to-back road trip. But they sent him on the trip, which indicated to me that he was, going to play. And I thought he was just like a good, just steadying presence throughout. We're gonna talk a little bit about Peyton and Jamal kind of overall, but they were both really special to close this game. And we'll get to Peyton when we get to his segment. But he basically hit the game winner, or like the shot to put us ahead at the end of this game. And that was huge. In addition to everything else that he did, like just continuing to show those, especially self-shot creation chops. The creation for others has been more like kind of hit or miss, I would say, especially when it comes to, monitoring that like assist to turnover ratio. But the self creation has continued to be there as he sort of gets more, I wouldn't say explores his game, but gets more comfortable in the game that he has, which is like something I like the idea of a player getting more comfortable at the things that they're good at than trying to try new things. Right. And I feel like that's really what Peyton's been doing for the last, like week and a half, especially, is like less of the floater, more of the middy, right? Which I've been talking about since the beginning of the season. Getting to the rim, drawing free throws, all that stuff, which we'll get to with him. Just to kind of close it out, though, on like this, short part about the Pelicans game here. It was a really bad Bruce game. I talked about the getting looked off in the corner. He missed a bunch of layups. Like he's just missing everything in the paint. I have like no confidence in Bruce taking a shot at the rim right now. I need to double check his rim shooting percentage, because the last time I looked, he was at like 51% on the season, and it feels like it's gotten worse. This was like 3 weeks ago, I think, is when I looked at that number. We showed the clip of him kind of calling for the ball on that Pickett lead clock turnaround. And then he hit Bruce for that little bank shot later in that same quarter. But then if you could go, Will, to the AG missed middy late, basically the same situation, other side of the court. Aaron Gordon, in a late clock situation, decides to go for a turnaround here from the middle of the floor. Now Bruce is calling for it. It goes, and Bruce kind of like he lets his head down a little bit. Didn't love to see that, and he's just really been in a funk, particularly since like he hasn't had a great season, but I feel like he wasn't playing this badly, like consistently. It was kind of like every like third game he would be actually like good, right? Whereas over the last like few weeks, like 2-3 weeks stretch, hasn't really been that way. We're going to talk about when we get to the Mavs game. He did have a slightly better outing, but it was still not a good Bruce game. It was just like okay, he made some of the plays that you kind of come to expect from him. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that, on like why he's in a funk. Why in particular maybe you don't feel this way. I feel like he's forcing some stuff inside to like try to make a point, but it's like I don't know, maybe your game is just Pickett's now and like you can't be trying to, make contested layups amongst the trees anymore because you don't have that lift and you need to like kind of, come to terms with that and that kind of thing. But there's also like the other mistakes like the turnovers and things like that. And then, kind of plays like that where you can sense like his frustration is like palpable even through the screen, right? Like I noticed those two corner three plays like in real time and I was like, oh, like Bruce is like not, you
Yeah.
his like, not that he's never been like a calm guy, but you don't necessarily expect like that kind of demeanor from him.
Yeah, I mean, I think the frustration that he's showing for not getting the opportunity to shoot a wide open three, which is a great shot for any team. It's like the shot you want.
Well, maybe not when it's Bruce in the corner.
Well, if you're Bruce, you want that shot for
Yeah.
yourself. And I definitely get that he wants a chance to show that he can contribute to this team because he just has had less moments to pop off. And he hits threes occasionally for sure. Not like I don't think he's
He was
a
actually
zero.
like doing okay from three to start the season. It's just been really bad ever since like maybe the beginning of December. But otherwise, it was like, I don't know, he was sitting close to a 40% clip. Like you never trusted it because his shot form is like so janky, like especially when it's above the break. But even the quarter ones, like the ball doesn't like spin norm, but they were going in, whatever. But ever since then, not so much. And on top of that, there's like the other stuff, like the misses at the rim and like some of the other mistakes, like in game, in terms of like turnovers, whatnot. But um, yeah, I feel like Bruce needs to like go golfing and like chill for a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I'm not really that worried about it, though. I mean, thankfully, we do have Hardaway Jr. and Pwat's looking good. Pickett's looking pretty good for now. And it's like, it's nice having more options. And we don't need to rely on Bruce to be, this huge role player contributor that we need to put in to close out games because we just don't have any other options at a certain position. So I think he has the space to at least take some time to get it together. And I don't think the season hinges on him figuring something out. If you do have the outlook that he's not playing as well as you may want. I'm saying the royal you, not you, but
yeah, no. I know what you mean. Yeah, I hope we can just kind of like chill out and then, just have like a good shooting stretch to kind of get that confidence back. Because there's like different types of not being confident. And I feel like Bruce is kind of in the like, I'm forcing stuff, non-confidence. Um, and yeah, I think he just needs to like take a little bit of a step back. A little bit. All right, let's get to the Mavs game from yesterday. Nugs take the W on the back-to-back, 118 to 109. When I was first trying to decide how I wanted to characterize this win, I started off like it was a pretty professional win. Like, yeah, they let them back in like late in the game, but then they closed it out and whatever. But the other thing that really stood out to me on this game on rewatch, because I didn't get to see it live, I was too busy watching a K-drama with my fiance and his dad, who recently got into K-dramas. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's what we're doing tonight. This was a talent win, just straight up. Obviously, Cooper Flag goes down in the second half, but the Mavs were not, they were down 20 or like 15 plus for most of this game anyway. The truth is the Nuggets won this game because we have Jamal Murray and they don't. That was kind of the story of this game to me on rewatch. I was just like, just throughout the game, like every single quarter, I was like, wow, Jamal was just so good throughout this entire game. And very clearly the best player on the floor. They couldn't do anything with him. And that's why it felt like, wow, this is so like, oh, this is so easy early. It was a combination of the Nuggets were scoring and the Mavs were not for sure. Like I talked about the Bucks game, like obviously like no Jamal in that game. And it felt more like a defensive game and we had like the defensive talent to win that game. Um, but they had Giannis, right? Like, and he should have been the best player on the floor. And, arguably was anyway. He was still plus 17 in his minutes. But we were able to take that game because of the Bucks flaws. Whereas in this Mavs game, it felt like, wow, the Nuggets are like way, way, way more talented than the Mavs, in like the positive direction, compared to, the Mavs are not as bad as the Bucks in terms of like the talent, it felt like in this game. Anyway, let's get to Jamal. Clear best player on the floor, like I said. Let's go to the and one because this was an early play in the game. The Jamal and one. Okay, so and it's completely predicated on Jamal as a 3-point threat. Dwight Powell like leaps out there, and Jamal is like, "Oh, I'm gonna drive all the way to the rim." Gets an and one. He was actually only in this game 2 of 6 from 3, but he was a total paint demon as well. Cooper Flag didn't recover on that after that hedge in time to stop him from getting downhill. Nobody could stop Jamal from getting downhill in this game. He definitely went through stretches, and especially in that stretch when late when the Nuggets kind of let them back in the game, where he wasn't making the shots, but he was still getting downhill at will against this defense. And it's a really good defense, the Dallas Mavericks. I think it's ironically like one of the worst offenses in the league and maybe of all time, but one of the best defenses.
And it's a lot easier to score getting downhill against them if they don't have AD, for sure.
Yes, exactly. Let's go to Jamal tough finishes. He had tough finishes in the paint all game, and this was one of my favorites here. This one actually made it a 22-point game. Who is guarding him there?
Insane.
Is that Brandon Williams or Ryan Nembhard?
I don't know. I don't know.
He has Clay on him, and they force a switch, and then it's just like, you can't guard me. That was like you can't guard me kind of play.
It's a crazy Euro step, and then kind of he didn't switch hands, but going to his left,
he's too big. Jamal downhill with momentum is tough for like a regular sized like guard defender, right?
Just barely getting it over the rim into a bank shot. And just the way that he can play the angles and just knows how to get the ball in the basket, no matter where he is in the restricted area, is still just so underrated. It's worth saying again. He's just insane.
Yes. And actually, I want to draw attention to a comment by a friend of the show, HP Basketball, aka Matt Moore, a writer who covers the team. I think on the post game for this game, he was talking about Peyton Watson actually, and the difference between being a player who excels because they are always on balance, i.e., like an Anthony Edwards, versus like a player who can make like every kind of shot despite being off balance like most of the time, right? Like I think of like Shea as like this kind of player that's like so good at all these off balance shots and that kind of thing. And it was interesting to hear him, talk about Peyton as one of the latter types of players also. I feel like Jamal, we've talked about this idea ever since like one of our earliest shows is like what makes Jamal so good but also so weird as a player is like one of the issues with his consistency in the past is that he was mostly this player that really sort of thrived in those off balance situations, but he was in them so frequently because of limitations to his own athleticism, right? This season, I feel like because of it's a combination of shot diet and all this kind of stuff, he's keeping that ability to be that off balance player in these situations, but also he's in balance like more often than it feels like he used to be. Like that's a combination of just like that shot diet is like you're taking your open threes, you're getting all the way downhill. It's like a lot fewer of those like way off balance middies. But your comment about the layup here made me think of that.
I mean, he's just in such good form that he can unleash anything in his arsenal almost at will under like,
Yeah.
even if it's out of control or whatever, or like a tough situation, it's like in control
Under
all at the
duress.
same time. And
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, tough ass middy,
He's
but
like,
he makes it
you know
because
what it
he's
is
so
on each of
good.
in these situations? It's like that meme of the guy that's like, call an ambulance, but not for me. Where
Yeah.
you're like, oh, Jamal's going nowhere on this drive, but actually, like, the defender has no shot. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's just
Um,
poised. And before we
yeah.
get to, or we have another tough finish that you wanted to see.
Yes, let's
We
go
should
to
go to
tough
that.
finish 2. I think this was even later in the game here to just kind of give him a little bit more cushion at the end. Whoop, not as tough, but it was just like, I just need
Yeah,
to
no
put
one
another
can
one in
stop him
there.
again.
This was a saucy one. Like Jamal, you could tell Jamal was just like, whatever. That's a tough finish, but Jamal made it look really easy. Right?
Yeah. Just an under full
And that was a
control.
lot of this game, honestly. Like he had so many, like if you look at his shot chart, he only made, I think, yeah, like I said, 2 threes, but he made 13 shots. So he made 11 shots from 2, and I think 10 of them were in the paint, right? He was just living in the paint in this game, and he made so many of these finishes look easy. I was like, man, I don't know if these are going to stand out as like particularly difficult for the audience, but this is kind of an insane game from him.
Yeah.
Um,
Before you get to this next point, because we're going to talk about like his, the way that he can utilize his own gravity, because obviously teams are going to be paying attention to him. That's something we've been monitoring without Jokic, because he's clearly the biggest threat on the Nuggets now. I wanted to just go back and just show the very end of the Pelicans game, because I liked this from him where, it was a tight game. We're only up 2.
Is it the floater?
This is the assist to AG, actually. So,
okay. Yeah.
I thought maybe he could have done something a little bit sooner, but he just kind of like extends his dribble all the way out here. And there was, Zion's in the paint looking at Jamal, and there's 3 guys all kind of looking at him.
Exactly what he wanted to do on this possession was like, I'm going to draw everyone to me so that AG gets an open dunk.
Exactly. And he's clearly looking at AG right now, but just kind of gets everyone to focus on him driving to the corner, and then AG, and that's a game sealing dunk. We're up by 4 at that point. And I just think, just him doing that has been really masterful. Yeah.
Masterful is he's just so in control. I love it. I just like it's becoming, it's so routine now that, I think every game that Jamal has had since Jokic has been gone, maybe outside of the Raptors game, although I thought he was really good in that game, just wasn't as efficient, would have been like its own show last season, right? But now it's becoming routine, and that's why he's going to be an all-star, and I would argue should be all NBA over the likes of Devin Booker. But the guys over at Real GM might disagree with me. Let's see here. Okay, let's talk about what Jamal has had is developing kind of all kinds of different gravity during this stretch. Gravity is an interesting concept because it's not just dependent on like how good of a player you are in different parts of the floor. It's also, very context dependent as well. So for example, Steph probably has more gravity now than at any point in his career because nobody cares about anything his teammates do. But that doesn't mean that he's like a better player than he's been, right? Let's go to the Tim 3 off Jamal attention. So Jamal is he's not like, bombing from deep too much in this game, but they're just like trying to get the ball out of Jamal's hands here. And you can see as much attention as Dallas has there. They're like trying to kind of zone up on his drive. And they leave Tim Hardaway Jr. wide open in transition from 3. And Tim just, buries this. Jamal just gets the ball to Pickett there, and boom, easy. If you could go to the Spencer corner 3 off of Jamal's 3-point attention. Mavs start blitzing Jamal here. He gets the ball to AG on the short roll. Spencer gets a wide open corner 3, nails it.
Finally, and then if you could
go to the finally what?
One he makes.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. And I was like, oh, he actually went 2 of 4 from 3 in this game. But the misses like are annoying because they're all wide open, right? So then this other one, Jamal's gravity as, a 2-point threat because he's been absolutely again killing this team in the paint here. And like Dwight Powell has no chance. Like Jamal's about to go up for this layup here, but then he sees Clay completely ignoring Spencer in the corner and he darts it over. Jamal could have just taken the layup there, but it was like, you know what? Let's sauce it up a bit and see if we can, get the ball kind of moving here.
And Clay
Spencer,
being in that low man,
that.
him being in that low man position was so funny to me. I loved seeing it because you know how I feel about Clay, and just seeing him be this like old and can't do anything. Although he was the only one who hit some threes in the first half. He was the only Mav that hit threes for them because they couldn't shoot for shit. And I don't think we did anything super special in that regard. Like we contested when we needed to, but I feel like we were almost leaving them open in the second half, even Clay, and just not leaving open, but not like going hard to contest at certain times. And they were just missing everything. But
yeah. I was actually talking to somebody about this the other day, how our old shooting coach, Mike Penberthy, he's now with the Mavs. They're one of the worst shooting teams in the league. And you don't put that all in the shooting coach. I thought I just thought it was funny, Malone was always getting on, like, kind of like jokingly getting on him for like the poor free throw shooting of the team, right? All right, back to the Mavs game though. This was another great Tim Hardaway Jr. game. Kind of wrapping up the Jamal segment there, but another great Tim Hardaway Jr. game. Just keeps making his threes. I think he took 9 in this game and went like 4 of 9. Let's go to the THJ tight 3. So he just makes this like tightly contested stuff. Like the guy is right on him and he's like, you are not going to stop me from getting this shot off. Right? He's like
the release point's
right
insane.
under him. Probably could have been an and one, but Tim doesn't fall, so they don't give it to him, right?
Yeah, you got to flop to get that. Such a joke.
And then if you could go to the steal and then the transition 3, this was 2 plays, same possession here. He gets, just kind of gathers the ball because Brandon Williams basically just gives us the ball there, but then Tim gets the benefit of that steal and then takes this pull-up 3 in transition. I actually meant to look this up before the show because we talked about the difficulty of Tim's shot diet since Jokic has been out. I just want to know what he's shooting on his pull-up
transition
3-point shots. Yeah. If you want to bring up the next clip while I bring that up. This is the dime to Bruce. Who says that Tim doesn't pass?
I know he's been doing everything.
He's getting blitzed in this game too. And yeah, Bruce is just cutting and gets, an open layup there.
One way that Bruce has been steadily getting shots is just kind of cutting from the corner into the dunker spot. This one,
he's been getting shots, not necessarily makes. That one was one.
And the defender totally expects the ball going to the corner in this situation. Didn't know that Bruce was cutting in, and THJ in the air kind of led him that way and then hits Bruce in the dunker spot. So,
Will, what do you think Tim Hardaway Jr. is shooting on his pull-up threes?
The way you ask me the question always influences my answer. So now I'm like thinking 70%, but I know that's insane. So I'll go 55.
It is 50%.
50. Oh,
it's 50%. He takes 1.6 per game, so more than 1 a game actually. We should have let the chat play along. Maybe we'll do that next time.
Yeah, we should have. Yeah,
and we'll see like who gets closest.
Closer.
44 was close, but I think Will was closer with 55. Yeah, he's shooting 50% on these pull up threes, and often they're contested. Not always. A lot of them are these open ones in transition, like we said, a la KCP. But
he really is. And I will say in this game specifically, like, because I went back to see how the 3-point shot was defended because they shot so poorly, and I wanted to see anything we were doing specifically. Not really, but when Clay was hitting the shots, THJ was guarding him, and he was really sticking to him on screens. And granted, like, it's the Mavs, it's not like they're executing these screens super well, But I was like, hey, he's really trailing Clay like on any action for the most part, just sticking to him. So he really did remind me a lot of KCP, just like with the mid range and hitting threes and like
He's
sticking to your
getting these
guy.
steals. He's the new 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right. We gotta hope that some of the better kind of screen navigation and general man defense holds when Jokic gets back too. Not just from Tim, but from everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Just everything with
Um
this.
we talked about Bruce kind of having a rough stretch for sure. He had a slightly better game here against Dallas. Not amazing, because he did miss a lot. He missed quite a few layups that you would have wanted him to make. Had a few negative plays, but I wanted to point out this one sequence that I thought was like very, I think, emblematic of like the player that Denver needs Bruce to be. If you could go to the really long titled clip, gets passed in the corner and swings to Peyton on the wing. I can't even remember how this play was initiated here. So okay, they go out of horns. Jamal drives in, hits Bruce in the corner, swing to Peyton. Peyton misses. Bruce grabs the offensive rebound, which are very precious to. That's something we've talked a lot about, the defensive rebounding, but offensive rebounds are very precious to Denver in this stretch without Jokic too. Not just because you want to score more, and it's more difficult to score without Jokic, obviously, because you want to, but because you want to not let the other team completely run away with the offensive rebounding margin in these games and the opportunities for second chance points. You're like, okay, we got to kind of match them blow for blow a little bit, or at least, mitigate some of that advantage of the glass. And Bruce has actually been a sneaky, really good offensive rebounder in this stretch, despite his other struggles. So he grabs offensive rebound, and then if you could go to the clip where he hits Peyton for the and one on that same possession. So he just gets the ball back to Peyton, and Peyton's able to drive in, get an and one here. That was an insane finish by Peyton, by the way. We're about to talk about him, but yeah, these are the kinds of possessions we need from Bruce, where he's just a connector and a hustle guy, and like keeps it pushing from there, right?
I mean, that finish was all touch from him to lay it that high off the glass, moving the way that his body was moving away from the basket.
I was like, I didn't think Peyton thought that shot was going in. And I still don't think Peyton thought that shot was going in.
But he
but he drew the foul.
The deliberate touch he had to put on it to make it was there, which is excellent to see. That's like beyond a step from, I just want you to put the ball in the hoop. That was a extra creative way to put it in the hoop.
Yeah. Anything else that you wanted to say about the Mavs game? I really thought that like Jamal was the story of that game, and Denver kind of approaching it with, good energy defensively throughout, which was pretty surprising because I think in the Pelicans game, they came out with like meh energy, and even DA said so. And it picked up in the second half of that game, and they were just able to stay close enough in the first half that they were able to, make it up in the second half. But I thought the Mavs game, like they had just good energy from the jump. And I thought a lot of that was Jamal. Offensively, but defensively too. I thought they were flying around. The Mavs are also like limited offensively, so I don't want to put that all on Denver's defense, but I just thought they came to the game with the right like mindset.
Yeah. And I thought Jamal was obviously too much for them. And I thought AG was also like decent. Like he was good on offense and defense as always. Not that we showed any specific clips of him, but he had a decent amount of points. I think it was like the third highest scorer possibly, but him and Pwat were good as well. So
yeah,
we should get to Pwat though, because that is the big.
Let's get to Pwat. This is the big segment here. So can Denver afford not to keep Peyton Watson? Right? Let's talk about the versatility in Peyton Watson's scoring game that he has demonstrated over the last, now week that we're talking about here. He had a really special close to the Pelicans game. if you could go to, or just a special game against the Pelicans, period. Let's go to the transition push and finish. This was off of a Spencer Jones block defensively. And, Payne's just driving. He's like, oh, no one's guarding me. I'm going to punish you. And then he ends up getting an and one here because unknown player on Pelicans fouls him, kind of trying to come in late from the strong side. I don't know who was it? Herb Jones? Was this Herb Jones's fault? I'm like, who was supposed to get in front of Peyton here? And it seems like it was him because everyone else was matched up to somebody.
Yeah. No one stopped the ball in that play, and Pwat has such long strides and speed. There's an open lane. That is deadly.
So glad that he's been going for these layups in transition more so than particularly the one-handed dunk attempts. But even the two-handed ones in transition, I don't know that he has as much control with the speed. When he's so fast, actually, when he picks up, then he gets to his max speed in transition. I don't know that he has that control to go up with dunk verticality and make it, but he's actually been really good on these layups. I can't actually, I'm sure it's happened, but I can't think of a lot of instances where I've seen Peyton smoke a transition layup, right? And so that's been good to see. Again, re-emphasizing the parts of your game that you are good at, right? Okay, let's go to the baby hook through contact. This was just a really impressive finish. I don't care who was guarding him, and so much that I don't even remember who it was here. So let's see, Derek Queen. Okay, he's got Jordan Hawkins on him, kind of bumps him out of the way, and hits this nice little baby hook through contact. And I don't think he got the whistle here. I can't remember, but high up, and it didn't need to be that high up because it's Jordan Hawkins. He doesn't have a particularly impressive wingspan, but Peyton was
yeah, it's a hook shot almost the way he flicked it up there.
Yeah.
The more skill he can have in the air, verticality on these finishes, because he is so tall, it's going to be even impossible. It's going to be impossible.
I know. It's just about, it's you've got some of the tools. Now let's figure out a way to maximize those tools with, with the kind of softer skills there. Let's go to the game-winning middy, because this was, I think, the shot that everybody was talking about. And I will say this is probably the least controlled Peyton Watson made basket that I've ever seen, because he had that one and one that we just talked about where I don't think he even thought it was going in. But actually, in retrospect, watching this shot, the shot itself, I don't love the base, where how his feet go or whatever, but the shot goes in. But he's actually pretty patient on the drive itself, despite there being 4 seconds left on the clock in a tie game with 43 seconds left, 4 seconds left on the shot clock, right? Pretty patient with the actual drive itself. The shot, he was just let me get something up, and maybe that's it got him into the flow state. And this was the go ahead shot that basically didn't seal it for Denver, but it's definitely the reason they were up late in this game because of this shot.
Yeah, I kind of called it the game winner as well.
Yeah.
I think AG scored again after that, but on the previous play, Pickett was driving in, and it was one of those plays we were talking about earlier where he could maybe have gone to the floater, tried to attack the basket, but didn't seem confident enough to do it, and then threw it to Peyton for a contested corner three. And I can't remember if he took it or not.
He took it and missed it.
And then missed.
But it was semi-contested. It's a shot you want him to take.
There was a guy right there, and I was I wouldn't have elected for that. I would have rather Pickett tried to go for the floater. But Pwat's been making so many threes, why not? But so he got an opportunity to shoot a three on this play and almost looked to do it. And I didn't think he didn't take it because he was lost confidence after he missed the last one. But it was just so crazy.
Well, this is a different kind of shot. I don't think that his feet were set for a three. He's let me try to get in closer and take a higher percentage shot.
Yeah, and he just decided pretty quickly to just start driving. He drove almost directly to the baseline and then just went for the spin, which is just, I audibly gasped when he made that shot because I just did not expect a Pwat turnaround middy to get us a lead and like seal a win like on the road. It's just like crazy. I love it though.
And we're gonna talk about. I've got some clips here from the Mavs game. Just he's continued to grow in his patience in getting to these mid-range jump shots. Again, I like this shot for him better than the floater. I don't think that his like, as much as it's great for players to like again work on things that they are not as good at. The middy is something that we've been seeing since his sophomore year as like a consistent thing that he at least gets comfortable with, even if it's not like, he's not like a 50% mid-range shooter or anything like that. But that's something that you've seen in his game before. And I'd kind of been wondering this season why we'd seen less of that and more of the floater. But if you could go to the Peyton mid-range patience clip here from the Mavs game. So he's got Cooper Flag on him, gets a little screen, and they end up switching Dwight Powell onto him. And I think he was thinking about like, how do I get this to Zeke on the switch? Because Zeke actually does a decent job sealing Cooper deep. And the clock isn't super late, but Peyton feels pretty comfortable just getting to this little turnaround on Dwight Powell here. If you see here, Dwight Powell steps back a little bit and gives Peyton like a better look at the basket. If this is not Zeke, like if this is Jokic or AG, you want him to just make that entry pass. But he was very comfortable getting to the middy here and then made it. Right. So it looks good because the shot went in. Right.
He's making an argument though for just being able to take more for sure.
If you could go to the other patient middy, I think this was also from the Mavs game. Who's on him here? Is this PJ Washington?
I think so.
Peyton was just like very patiently breaking him down off the dribble and gets to a little this isn't a short shot. This is like a 19-20 footer.
Off just a crossover and behind the
and
back,
it's just
little
swish.
step back.
We haven't really seen him take this long of mid-range shots kind of intentionally, but that was what happened there. And it went in. I'm really curious to see over the next like week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, that Jokic is out because I don't think he's going to take this shot when Jokic is back, if I'm being honest. I would love to see like a range he's comfortable shooting from.
I would like to see it if his mid range is good and he has a good feel for it. Run like that little action for him, like KCP used to do, like curling around a screen and shooting off the mid range. Like, why not run that for him?
That's a little different because KCP got to that shot very differently. It was coming from off ball on the hand. I would be curious too. Like I want to see how comfortable Peyton is getting to that mid range shot off of handoffs. But as you can see in all of these examples, it's basically isolation plays, right?
Yeah.
Has the ball in his hands a little bit longer, can take his time, size up the defender, do all that. KCP was very much like running into the DHO and running into the shot, like very quick. I don't think that Peyton would have the same, like mechanism or approach to that. I'm not saying that it would be bad to just like see like what that could look like because like that would be interesting. I just think it's just the expectation for it should be a little bit different than it was with KCP.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a way to like keep this up with Jokic because obviously Jokic is a specific kind of offensive player, but he's flexible. I'm not saying he's not. Like he can make tons of reads and stuff, but I mean, I jokingly was talking on Twitter last night saying, like, I bet you this whole Pwat thing's going to, I mean, just even from usage, of course, but like, I was just saying it in a way of I'm not that lucky to have Pwat play this good when Jokic comes back, but I'm hoping I'm wrong because I want it to just continue. And it's starting to look like he just needed some playing time and just some more license to go off. And so if Jokic needed to get injured for that to happen, it's a blessing in disguise. Yeah, but I'm happy for him. And it was sad seeing Malone being like calling that game on ESPN. And like he was the guy who wasn't necessarily playing Pwat, whether you blame him for that or not at the time. and now Pwat's
I
going
mean, he
off.
was. I think he's playing him like a similar number of minutes, or he was probably playing Peyton more than Peyton was playing at the beginning of this season when everybody was healthy, because he was like a 24-minute per game guy last season. But obviously the role was very different, right? And I think I don't remember if I talked about this on the show this season, but we talked about it last year, how like one of the more, regardless of what you think of Russ's contributions to the team, like individually and just overall impact team wise, I think the player that was hurt the most by Russ's presence on the team was Peyton, just because of the limit. Like, you're very limited in the way that you can play with Russ on the floor. It's either like him and Yoke running pick and roll, or like ball in Russ's hands like the whole time, right? Because that's when Russ is at his best, and that's when he can give you the best impact. It's very much harder for other players to make or have like their most positive impacts with the ball in their hands when Russ is also on the floor. And it's not because Russ like can't make his threes, because he did, right? But it didn't change how defenses guarded him and things like that, right? And I think that Peyton was probably the player that was hurt most by that sort of spacing situation and like the role situation, because clearly right now, like, he's doing really well with the ball in his hands all the time. And I think he'll probably get those opportunities even when Jokic is back, because Cam is still going to be out for like a little bit. And Peyton will have those opportunities even in the non-Jokic minutes. But the other thing is, do you remember at the beginning of the season when we were seeing a lot of like, in preseason and I think early in the season, like Peyton running pick and roll and handoffs with Jonas, and then whenever he was on the floor with Jokic, it's like just like not happening. And we talked about that on the show. Like, maybe like let's just run more handoffs with Peyton and Jokic, like when they're on the floor together, and just kind of see what happens, because it's not just the mid-range shot creation. He's been a pretty good passer in those situations. Not ideal, but if you're going with the no point guard look, it can't just be point Jokic 100% of those minutes, right? And I think this would be another, very useful thing to develop in those minutes, especially after Peyton has had, all this experience having, just the ball in his hands more.
And he could be that. I mean, we've had other players, like AG is a great player who can score on an ISO, whether he's like bullying his way into the paint or like a pull-up jumper. But, like when things get really locked down in a playoff setting with Jokic and Jamal, you talked about how you want another option, an off-ball guy, whether he's most like you were wanting like a ball handler type. Who can get them
the ball, right? Like literally, it's like Peyton's playmaking is definitely. We're going to talk about, the playmaking a little bit and some of the limitations with that, as I alluded to as well. But it's like you can see the ceiling there, right?
Yeah, and it's just another option to take pressure off Jokic and Jamal when things get tight. If he's scoring like this, whether it's ISO or like a pull-up jumper, a three-pointer, driving into the lane,
or
getting
just
fouls,
drawing attention and kicking out, or just getting them the ball too, right?
Yeah,
but it's good to see him be able to create his own shot even against like kind of pressure defenses as well.
And Vyacheslav brought up him having some turnovers late in games, which has been like frustrating, but it's good for him to like, get those reps, make those mistakes now. But we're going to show some great like assists that he had as well. Things of that nature.
So the last scoring possession I wanted to bring up here is the 3 when the defense goes under. This was in transition or semi-transition, I believe, here, when I can't remember if Peyton has the got the grabbed and did a grab and go with the rebound.
Yeah, let me pull it up. It was which one? The
3 when defense goes under.
All right, here we go.
All right. So, Jamal gets in the ball here, or Tim gets in the ball. Defense is like falling way back in this situation, probably because at this point, Peyton had also gotten to the paint a lot and kind of cooked them on drives. And they're just like, fine, we're just going to sit all the way back. And Z kind of like doesn't really need to set a screen. He just kind of slips over to the paint, and thgoing to sit all the way back on this. And Peyton, with a little bit of hesitation, but steps into this 3-point shot and is able to make it.
Hey, I'm glad he took a second to really process it, because he nailed it, and just punishing them again for not really stopping the ball in an early offense like situation.
Yeah. And so, we've gone through all these clips, and I'm kind of curious from your perspective, like what you attribute to Peyton's like increased success as a scorer over this stretch. Is it just usage? Is it just confidence? Is it shot diet at all? Because I kind of think the shot diet has like largely been the same, except like he's trading floaters for middies, which I'm a fan of for him in particular, because I just feel like he looks way more comfortable with the mid-range.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have to say it's a mix of everything, from not having the pressure of, like having to play minutes with starters or just like on the bench in a situation where we're trying to maintain a high seed with Jokic and not make mistakes. It's an offense that's open for a lot of new different things and not as locked down philosophy wise. Not that that's how it is with Jokic, but with this team where it's just all hands on deck and anything goes and don't hesitate on shots, I think is great and helps his confidence, his reps, his usage. But also, he said he worked on his shot in the offseason. So I got to believe that him actually focusing on it and trying to make it reliable is clearly paying off, because I just don't think it can come out of nowhere, really. And he talked about it, and we're seeing it pay off.
Making the threes generally has definitely helped a lot. He's up to like 31% on above the break threes on the season. So he's just been better on those in this stretch. Continues to be well over 50% from the corners, which is like, I don't know how sustainable that is, but he's doing it, right? But it's more the interior scoring that's been really impressive to me. I think that I will say, okay, the shot diet, quote unquote shot diet, in terms of like where he is on the floor, hasn't changed too much. But I will say when he gets to the rim, he's more controlled on some of these finishes, not necessarily trying to go up for dunks that are not like in his athletic arsenal, which is one of those things where it's like, well, if Bruce were a more skilled player, maybe he wouldn't be so reliant on these like athletic finishes to like make those like contested shots amongst the trees, as we say, with all those big players in the paint. Peyton is going for a lot more of these like skill finishes now, whereas I think before he was either rushing these same finishing attempts or going for like, these just like straight athleticism plays inside. And I think that was a hindrance to him. And it's just gotten him more comfortable too, like with getting all the way downhill. And when he's not, getting to the jumper instead of the floater, which I feel like often the mid-range jumper to me with Peyton feels like a shot that he's trying to get to. The floater feels like something that he gets kind of boxed into when he takes it. Is like, oh no, somebody stepped in front of me, let me like put this up kind of thing. And so he feels a lot more in control generally with again that mid-range jumper, which I've harped on that enough. All right, let's get to a couple of playmaking clips, and then we'll talk about the defense before we wrap up this discussion about Peyton Watson. This is from, I believe, the Mavs game. If you go to the Spencer push shot, I think it's from the Mavs game.
This is against the Bucks.
Oh, it's from the Bucks game. Okay, so I think in this game he had like 7 assists. Really good. Drives all the way in again, like really good, getting like knifing into the paint, which is a dynamic that I've felt that Denver's offense has really been lacking over the last few years. Drawing the help and getting Spencer the ball here for an easy push shot that he makes. Sometimes Spencer misses a shot, but he made this one, which is good. he had multiple dimes to Zeke in this game. I think like 3 or 4 actually, just like on cuts that Zeke either made the layup or didn't. But if you could bring up the just this one example here, Peyton's really good at these. These easy interior passes are like cake for him, actually. Okay, so here you've got, yeah, just pick and roll with Zeke. This one was my favorite one because this is the kind of play that you could see being like easy for running with Jokic. Although, I'm just gonna give Will a little, not a pop quiz, but a short form, a short answer type thing. If you, just looking at this play, if Zeke were Jokic, what changes about what Peyton has to do here?
Peyton's probably got a score here, unless because I would imagine,
Bobby Portis would
be, yeah,
Bobby
Portis would
not be giving him that much attention.
Yeah, but it's good that Pwat knew, hey, like he's sticking to me. It's time to hit, because that is a professional type of pass on a pick and roll right there, over to a big.
Which is another reason I just want to see Peyton like play more pick and roll and handoff game with Jokic, because it is different. Like what you have to do to be successful in that possession is different because of how Jokic's gravity changes how the defense looks at you, in that they don't look at you. Okay. And I'd like to see him be able to get all the way downhill in that situation. Maybe a third defender comes in. I don't know. It would depend on like what the scout is, for that particular team, but they definitely would be sticking to Jokic more. And I'd love to see Peyton's just like all the way downhill game, continue to develop.
Yeah.
Glad Pwat didn't take the floater and pass to Zeke. Agreed, Vectislav.
Yeah, that would have been a tough one for sure. But maybe he would have tried to like finish through contact or something if he was planning to score. But if Bobby Portis was sticking to Jokic, he could just go in for a layup or a dunk, maybe. What I do want to add one more
go ahead.
Assist before we go to his defense, because we were about to go into that, right?
Yep.
Okay, so requested by the chat, this drive where he draws tons of Mavs in the paint and jumps and hits Jamal in the corner for a 3.
He loves this little like turnaround, like jump pass
move
to somebody on the perimeter situation. I do worry about that as like a long-term strategy, but you can see at least before he jumps, he surveys the defense before he jumps because the turnaround is on the ground, right? And he can see where everybody is. He sees Zeke setting an exit screen. He sees PJ Washington is like, kind of help pinching inward here. So when he goes up for the shot, he already knows where the ball's going to go before he jumps on this particular possession. Sometimes he doesn't. So that's something I'm going to continue to watch, is like how often when he goes for this jump pass has he decided like where it's going to go. And that can present its own problems. But I think for a player that's like where Peyton would be on a scouting report, it's okay to have that, because like the defense is like worried about so many other things. But the playmaking is still like, I think the most intriguing part of Peyton's game in terms of like a long-term fit with, or at least a medium-term fit with this team. Scoring, like everyone's like, theoretically, if Denver keeps him, oh my God, is he like a bridge to like the next phase for Denver? Everyone's giving him like, after this stretch, the Kawhi to the Spurs comp here. I don't know about that yet, but in terms of like the short and medium term, the playmaking I think is super important because it creates a role for him in any lineup. And it also means that he has less of a overall offensive burden so that he can focus on the defense, which I think is still like his most important contribution to the team, in terms of like, we don't have this, like we have scoring, we have playmaking. We don't have the kind of defense that Peyton can provide, even if he hasn't been as consistent with it, right? Outside of him.
It's wild. I mean, we've been talking about how much we want to see from Pwat. just with his offensive game in terms of scoring. And now we're getting that, and now talking about playmaking and assisting, which kind of comes a
I mean,
lot of
the
the times when
playmaking
you're
we've
better with
seen
scoring.
a lot of flashes of throughout, like flashes. Like I said, like I'm emphasis on flashes because it hasn't been, his role doesn't, facilitate him having, long stretches of it. But even like from his rookie year, he's been like, oh wow, he can make that kind of pass. We saw a lot in transition. This season, we're seeing a lot more of what he can do in the half court, which is really encouraging, right? Because that is more methodical sort of dissection of the defense in a way that I frankly wasn't sure he would get to this point. And there's still, some bugs with it. Because you want to keep the turnovers low and all of that. But the ceiling is there, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the defense. Then a couple of clips here. He had the game sealing, in addition to the game winning mid-range jump shot against the Pelicans. He had the game sealing deflection, and he forced Adelman to challenge this call out of bounds that was originally called out of bounds on Denver, and then they won the challenge. So they run this out of bounds play. It's funny because rewatching this, I was like, Peyton gets beat on this play. He has to have this deflection because he gets beat on this play. And they're up 4. Like, it's okay if the Pelicans get 2. The whole thing was like guarding the 3-point line, which is why he's kind of sitting on the top of is this Trey Murphy's hip here? I can't tell who he's guarding. Or is it Jeremiah Fears? The Pelicans.
Yeah.
That he's guarding. Yeah.
Too many unknown players on the Pelicans.
So he deflects the ball, but then I think it's Trey Murphy tries to save it, and it ends up going off of him instead. And that basically seals it for Denver, because when they, review it and we get the ball back, it's like, well, that's it. Goodbye.
Yeah, it was Trey Murphy. Yeah.
It was Trey. Yeah. Who was having a great game against Denver, as he does in this one. Let's go to the 3-point block on Kyle Kuzma. Like, the 3-point blocks are some of my favorite plays that Peyton makes, because it's like, yes, we stopped the one shot that like kills Denver, which is these open threes on kickouts when Denver kind of overhelps as part of their scheme, right? Look at the recovery here. Like, he's in the paint when he notices the ball going out to Kyle Kuzma. This is like a great way to save a basket at the end of the quarter. I don't know if Kyle Kuzma would have made this shot. He probably wasn't going to, but this is like the kind of play that is like demoralizing to a team that was already struggling to do much of anything. And yeah, I love demoralizing plays when they're coming from my basketball team.
And it's just a weapon for the Nuggets on defense when they need every tool in the toolbox. We could get on defense. Anything that can just save one stop, get one stop here and there, because the offense is going to be crazy good. And so a highlight play from Pwat can swing a game for you, definitely.
Yeah, the last note that I had here on Peyton's defense over this stretch is I feel like pretty even though it's not like an every possession thing, every game you get a few, highlight defensive playmaking, you know, possessions from Peyton Watson, the blocks, the deflections, the steals. I remember like the Celtics game where he gets the few stops on Jalen Brown at the end of the game, including that steal in the last like 90 seconds or something, right? The consistent defensive impact, though, has definitely gone like in and out. He started off the season like, love the defense. He's just been kind of, you feel him defensively, and it's not just the blocks, right? He's shutting guys down, either sometimes bigger players, sometimes smaller players on the perimeter, and just displaying that versatility on a consistent basis. I will say it's especially gone out, as in reference to the in and out, since his offensive role started to increase, for sure. We saw that in the Sixers game. He was really like, and the whole team was like, not great defensively, one-on-one, right? The whole idea was like, we'll give ourselves a chance by like zoning up on Joel. But and even though the scrambling was like admirable in that game, the Sixers still got a bunch of these open shots. And I thought that Peyton kind of got cooked on the perimeter quite a bit for most of that game. But we get to the fourth quarter and overtime. Peyton was like not good offensively. Like he started to miss, whereas he had been like cooking the Sixers for most of that game. Like he was really locked down defensively, especially in the fourth quarter and overtime, and just continuing to give Denver chances, contesting shots, making everything really difficult for whoever he was guarding. And we've seen that in, I feel like that was the same thing in the Celtics game, whereas he wasn't like missing shots at the end of that game, but his role in the offense was significantly decreased in the last like 5-6 minutes of that game. And I noted that in real time, like, okay, they weren't really getting the ball to Peyton. It was a lot of like Jamal Pickett. Did AG play in the Celtics team?
Don't remember.
Yeah, me either.
So long ago.
Yeah, that's okay. But it was a lot more. It was a lot of Jamal, a lot of Pickett at the end of that game in terms of like the creation. Maybe the ball found Peyton wants to take a shot, but he wasn't doing a lot of the creation. And I felt like Peyton like really locked down when like that was his role, which is really, but it's both good to see that like when he's scaled down, he can still lock in on the defensive end, but you want to see that continual like baseline being set on that end of the floor, because I'm concerned mostly with Peyton's floor, because I think that's still going to be the thing that determines Denver's playoff prospects. Yeah. So, to kind of wrap up this discussion, I actually want to get somebody on to talk about the sort of cap realities of Denver and what some of the options might be to keep Peyton or trade Peyton or do, whatever it is. But I wanted to talk about this as a discussion of, especially, coming with the trade deadline looming. Well, can Denver afford not to keep Peyton? Either you could talk about like the potential of trading him at the deadline or letting him walk this summer.
I mean, the Nuggets. So he's going to be restricted free agent, obviously, which means the Nuggets can match any offer and go into the second apron. So there is a path to keep him. You just have to pay a lot of money, and you got to take all the penalties that come with the second apron.
Well, I don't know if I don't think that paying a lot of money is the only path, but we'll get to that when we have a more fulsome like cap discussion.
That's the simplest path, right? Just
the
pay
simplest
the money.
Path is to pay him a lot of money. Yeah.
But you can of course look for trades. You can I mean, something along those lines. You got to free up money to then give Pwat money. So you can. That's obviously way more complicated, and you got to make tough choices there. But man, it's just so hard to deny that Pwat is making a case just to be almost like a starter level player on this team. I mean, the way he's playing is starter level, and you drafted him to be a defensive contributor who was this mature guy who could play right away. And obviously, it's taken a while to develop him to this point that he's playing. And if he keeps it up, it's like an offer that the Nuggets can't refuse. And I think gone are the any thought that we would package him with some deal to like dump Zeke or whatever. Like we got to keep Pwat like at all costs, I think, at this point. Which is just crazy. I didn't. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've heard different people talk about this, and like Ryan from Locked On and people just trying to calm concerns that like losing Pwat isn't this like a foregone conclusion, that the Nuggets do have options, that they see how well he's playing. But yeah, it's definitely the timing of the extensions with CB and Pwat, and not giving Pwat the extension definitely makes this season more stressful.
Do you think that they'd be willing to go into the second apron if they won a title with Peyton like being like a key contributor in like a series and a half?
Yeah, it's tough. It's like could I see them going into the second apron because we won a title more instead of like we didn't win the title and we need to keep being competitive, so like keep as many guys as you can. Or is
I
like if we
think
won the
I think they
title,
don't
would
win the
they be
title, they're
like,
definitely not going to the second apron. Like they would sooner like dump God forbid. Like I think that because of the previous regime, I am so paranoid about this. Like I think that they would sooner try to find a way to like dump AG to try to keep Peyton than go into the second apron. Not that I think that they would do that, but I think that of the likelihood, they would rather do that than go into the second apron.
yeah, oh yeah, Jamin's bringing up Jokic's extension too. I'm not worried about that at all. Like I'm pretty sure he will sign an extension with the Nuggets this summer. And then yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what scenario would make the Cronkies more willing to go in the second apron. It would be sweet though if we won the championship and that convinced them to like keep these guys together and just keep winning championships and going for it every year. That would be amazing. Even though repeat champions haven't been accomplished for a while. But I think the second apron should be like a this team needs to stay together type of scenario. And I still think like putting the most competitive team around Jokic might require just going into the second apron, whether we win the championship or not. And if you don't need to make
everybody's
moves,
at the point where they're getting paid now. It's just like, well, Christian's salary is going way up. Peyton's salary potentially going way up if he stays on our books. I mean, it's going to go up regardless of if he stays here.
Yeah, they definitely do owe Jokic.
AG's new number kicks in next season as well. So, because he's still on his, I think, 22.5 million this year.
Yeah, and it'll go up every year.
Yeah,
he's got like 3 years left, I think.
It doesn't go up every year. I think it's like after like this year, it'll be the same after this. But
it
he's
goes
at the
up
22 now because
once.
he picked up his player option from his previous deal, and that's this season. Next year, his 32 million, I think, that he signed the extension on kicks in, and Christian's number goes up, and Payne's. It's like a lot all at once, which is like what makes this particular summer like interestingly tight. It's like, can you just go into the second apron for a year and then figure it out from there? I don't know. I don't know if they're willing to do that. But we'll talk about that.
It's just another reason why it's important to look, every year is important to try to win the championship with Jokic, but this one looks particularly important because, you know, you got Val going out, which you could argue with. I've seen some people saying that they don't think Val is that good of a fit now that we've seen this like Nugget small ball defense switch all thing. But I still love Val's offense.
Do people realize that the Nuggets have had a negative net rating over the last like 9 games?
Yeah.
They're winning these games close. Like,
yeah, we're just barely surviving.
Like, and I love that they're scrapping it out, but it's not like this current construction is better than the team fully healthy that was like killing teams, right? Like,
so I want to maximize having Val and Pwat playing this well, and all these guys on the team. We got injuries early. I think it's going to be good for us later. Oh, crossing your fingers. Yeah, it's crazy. We've gone from just like not knowing what Pwat could offer this offseason to now feeling like there's no way we can lose him. And like if you had figured we were going to lose him no matter what, you could think about getting something back in a little trade, even though his salary is not huge. So like you're getting draft capital back, or like trying to get draft capital to use in another move or something like that. But at this point, I'm just like, I don't want to trade him. I just want to like try to keep him. And especially if he keeps this up, and that's the other like part of this. I want to see how the rest of the season goes. And we do have the luxury. Like I think trading Pwat this season is like a stupid idea. Like you got to use him and go all in and try to win the title now. So deal with what you can this summer. And yeah.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And just a final note on this, because I do have to wrap. I need to get ready for dinner. Is the whole the idea that they can't afford to keep Peyton is like false. Like they can. Okay. They can. They have his bird rights. They can pay him what they want. It's just like, what are they willing to do here? All right, gotta wrap here. If you made it this far, we really appreciate you guys. If you like our content, please remember to click the like button, and the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on socials. Our links are all in the description. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks.
And losing Peyton would suck big time. All right,
and losing Peyton would suck big time.
We'll see you, chat. Thank you again.